I edit hundreds of pieces of content per month, and I wouldn't be able to do that without being fast. Some people spend months creating one piece of content, and that might work when you're creating like a high-profile ad or a feature film, but that's just not gonna fly when you're trying to create content for social media. So let's talk about how to edit faster in Premiere Pro. The first thing I'm gonna say is kind of a no-brainer, but I'm gonna get it out of the way. The best thing that you can do is practice. You're probably rolling your eyes like, duh, why am I watching this video to find out that I just need to practice some more? The reason I wanted to touch on that first before we jump into editing is because it's true. Practice is going to be the best way that you get faster. There are tips and tricks that you can learn that help speed up the process. There's certain shortcuts that you can use. Those are all great things, but the ultimate best way you're going to get faster, to be 100% honest with you, is by practicing. The next thing I would say is having systems and staying organized is one of the best ways you can edit faster. If all of your files are all over the place, if things go offline and you have to take the time to look for them and it's not been pre-organized, that's going to slow you down a lot. It's going to take a very minimal amount of time for you to be organized at the very beginning of your project versus if you start unorganized because you're like, I just got to get started. I'm moving so fast. I'm moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour and like I don't have time to sit and set up my project the right way. It's going to end up being a mess for you later and you're going to regret not taking just the couple of minutes it takes to set up your project properly. Whatever system you use doesn't really matter. I have a system I like to use. Sebastian has a system he likes to use. We're working on trying to do the same system because a lot of times we'll work on the same projects. So, we're creating a system that as we pass projects back and forth, it works for both of us. But if you're mainly editing by yourself, just create a system that works really well for you, that you can always find your footage really easily, that you know what everything is. If you're looking for B-roll, you have a folder that's B-roll. If you are going to be adding a bunch of stock footage, that you've already found a lot of that before you ever start filming. Anything that you're going to be putting into the video, if you can have that ready to go in an organized folder as you set up your project so that it all matches the same way, you're going to thank yourself later. The next thing I would say is learn some shortcuts. I edit primarily with shortcuts. I rarely click on, the buttons that you're supposed to use to get like the blade tool or the mouse tool or anything like that. I just switch back and forth, constantly using the keyboard, and it helps me go a lot faster. You can also go in and change your shortcuts, customize them to whatever works for you. I've added a couple to my keyboard. I still use the same shortcuts from Final Cut Pro because that's what I learned them on. And when I switched over to Premiere Pro, I just was too lazy to learn the new ones. Was that a mistake? Probably. Should past Alysha have been a little smarter and had a little more foresight to see that it would be better to learn the proper shortcuts? Absolutely, but she did not. So here we are. The main thing is that whatever shortcuts you use, you know what they are. And again, you can practice them, get comfortable with them, and eventually you'll just be using shortcuts. My last tip is that you should edit in bulk as much as possible. The less time that you have to spend sitting down, opening up your project. I know it sounds ridiculous. Those things do take time though. I know for me, because it's a creative process, a lot of the time, once I'm in the edit, I can really get great momentum. I'm like, okay, here we go, and I'm doing this, and this is happening, and my brain's going. But the build up to sit down to edit often is what takes a long time. Even though I love editing, sometimes I still have to convince myself like, okay, sit down, do these edits. And then, like I said, once I'm in it, I'm like, okay, I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying this. I'm moving, I'm flowing. So if you can edit as many videos as you can at once while you're in that flow, that will save you some time. We have a ton of other videos on editing, how you can improve your editing skills. Editing is one of those things that you should always be working on, always trying to improve, always learning. So make sure that you subscribe for more. We are your video allies. You've got this, we've got your back, and we cannot wait to see what kind of content you create.